I'm W Bacon, aka Giblert, aka Jonathan, and welcome back to my list of my favorite games, where I very non-objectively take a look back at some of my favorite video games and memories from my first 25 years. I am definitely biased in favor of the games I talk about in this series of videos. However, I hope some of you enjoy it, or perhaps decide to give some of my favorite games a try yourself. With that out of the way, let's get started for today. Starting with number 95, Rockstar's open-world school-life brawler, Bully. I remember before I was a teenager, my parents didn't let me play GTA. I didn't play any of the GTA games until I was a little older during the 360, PS3, Wii era. It wasn't even GTA I specifically wanted to play. I just wanted a good open world game to explore, and there weren't many good ones I knew of at the time other than Rockstar games or Spider-Man 2. So when Bully came out, it was a good, kid-friendly enough game that my parents didn't mind if I played it, and it was one of the first real open world games I had the chance to play. Considering that, it especially blew my mind once the school opened up, and I got the chance to explore the town outside the school. I didn't even realize there was going to be a world outside the school when I started the game. Maybe the map size by modern standards isn't huge, and it probably wasn't even that big relative to its era, but at the time, compared to the other games I'd played in my short time on Earth, it felt big and distinctive. I think that's a major reason why this game sticks out in my memory so vividly. Aside from the inherent novelty of an open world, the rest of the game is pretty damn solid all around. It was nothing crazy deep, but the combat and minigames do their job well enough to tie the game together. However, what I think the game does best is giving a constant stream of new things, whether that's weapons, mission types, characters, activities, cosmetics, areas, combos, or tools like the skateboard or camera. There's always something fresh. Another touch about Bully I liked was the passage of time. It's nice to see the semester pass by as the seasons change and holidays come and go. Though the size of the world is on the smaller size, adding that dimension of time makes the game feel bigger than it is. As for the mission structure, it's typical Rockstar stuff. Go to some marker, banner with some quirky quest giver, do some task of questionable legality, then receive your reward. There's a decent enough variety to the missions, though some of them do feel a bit mundane or simplistic. While the plot isn't particularly complicated or deep, it helps round things out, and it does its job of giving you motivation to keep moving along, helped immensely by its hateable antagonist, Gary. I will say that it feels as if there's less emphasis on plot, and more emphasis on the characters and building a world of people around the setting, and that it does well with its rough yet likable main character Jimmy, huge cast of weirdos, and unique backdrop. Overall, I think that's the key to Bully, as well as Rockstar's other open world games. It ties together tons of tiny, disparate minigames and elements into a large package bound together by a fun cast and intriguing world, the result being something better than the sum of its parts. Bully, although dated by now considering its age, did a great job introducing me to the works of Rockstar games, and has earned its place on my list at number 95. Now for number 94, ROBLOX, a sort of Lego building game for kids with an extremely powerful level editor. This is a tough one to talk about for two reasons. One, I haven't played it in nearly 13 years, and the game as I played it back then doesn't really exist anymore considering how much it's changed. Not to hipster flex on a bunch of 10-year-olds, but I was in the first 50k users, and today, there are hundreds of millions of accounts. Reason 2, it's such a variety pack of different stuff that it's hard to pick a place to start. There are a lot of bad things about the game, not even counting recent controversies, and as a game mainly targeted at children, there's not much desire for me to revisit it. Plus, many of the player-created levels I liked when I played it aren't available anymore. As a final nail in the coffin, I can't even log into my old account, which is now worth 1.5 million Robux since I have some items which are now rare. I'm not sure how much 1.5 million is these days, but I think it's a lot. Still, let's be clear, back in 2007 to 2008, I played this game a shit ton. I spent almost all year playing the game on my shitty PC, usually getting a fat 20 frames per second on a good day. It's hard to list everything that made me keep playing, but I'll try to name a few things I liked, starting with the many user-created levels like combat arenas, minigame collections, racetracks, spaceships, pet sims, farming sims, sword fights, platformers, remakes of classic video game levels, chat rooms, and beautifully crafted environments, which were always a blast to destroy with explosives. There was plenty of variety to keep a kid occupied for a long time. On top of that, there were plenty of memorable events like the 2007 Christmas puzzles that kept me hyped for the next day of the event, or the designer place for Builderman contest, which I participated in, sort of. Another reason I kept playing was that I was quite motivated to create content, such as my hideous MS Paint shirts and lousy knockoff asset flip levels. It kept me busy as I tried to satisfy my inner capitalistic greed for tickets and Robux. One actual good thing did come from playing Roblox. The experience of building my own levels and learning a few basic building blocks of coding set a few seeds that eventually led to me getting a degree in computer science 10 years later. If nothing else, I can thank the game for that. I really wish I had some of those old levels saved though. It would be fun to take a walk through them. Maybe I'm being lazy about articulating it, but there really are just too many things about the game to talk about in 3 minutes. I'm trying to keep this brief, but I could really go on for over an hour reminiscing about all the things I'd done in my journey through Roblox. As a kid who didn't have a ton of money for video games, the sheer variety of content I had access to for the low price of nothing was enough to make it one of my most played games for over a year, and with that in mind, it definitely deserves its spot in my top 100. The last one for today at number 93, Valkyria Chronicles, Sega's Worms-like strategy RPG set in anime World War II. To quickly summarize for those unfamiliar, the game mixes an overhead tactical map with real-time movement and aiming to blend turn-based battles with third-person shooter elements. The first time I saw this game, XPlay reviewed it on G4. I only caught the end of the review, but the bright painting-like art style immediately got my attention. Even though the game is over 13 years old now, the art style and graphics still hold up. It turned out my neighbor had rented it, and he invited me over to come watch him play it since he knew I like strategy RPGs. And after watching a couple missions, I got hooked and finished watching the rest of the game on YouTube, since I didn't have a PS3. However, when Sega unexpectedly ported it to PC many years later, I was thrilled to finally have a chance to play through it properly, and for a cheap price. I was glad that after waiting 6 years, the game proved worth the wait. It easily satisfied my desire to get into a good strategy RPG, and with its unique battle system, it hits on a way few other games have tried. Aside from a few obscure games like Codename Steam, I can't think of any other games that use a similar battle system. Diving a bit more in depth to the gameplay, the balance between unit types isn't perfect, but it's good enough that it's at least viable to use nearly anyone. Each infantry unit falls into one of 5 classes. However, each individual character has a few special passive traits which differentiate them from other characters. For example, Reyna the Sniper gets better when she's alone. As a negative example, Niels is so misogynistic that his accuracy gets worse if he's near women.
Girls just get in the way.
Outside of the main crew, the side units filling out your squad don't get any screen time, but these little quirks help add a lot of personality. And I think it's great that some of these quirks are serious character flaws. One knock on the gameplay though, while the game balance is mostly decent, this game did have a particular issue where you can cheese your way through missions pretty easily with a superpowered scout like Alicia, which was the best way to get a good rank, though not a very interesting way to play. Something the game does right gameplay-wise was putting a clock on the player and forcing them to keep moving. I hate how so many turn-based games let you trivialize the mission by creeping along at a snail's pace and never taking a risk, so having a time limit is actually a good design decision in my book. Also, to touch on the missions themselves, the terrains and objectives are varied enough that combat never feels too repetitive. Now finally, story-wise, I'll say what I said about Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's kinda scuffed and it's anime as fuck. I wouldn't call it objectively good writing-wise. It's pretty corny and some of the writing feels kinda naive, especially regarding one character's choice near the end. However, even then, the story's still kinda charming in a way, and the main cast of Welkin, Isara, Alicia, Rosie, Largo, Zaka, and Hans are a good group of dudes. Welkin in particular is a pretty entertaining protagonist, since he comes off as such an airhead.
Huh? Yeah. That is... You're as pretty as a white-winged gull.
I look like a seagull?
Yeah. Those wings are just gorgeous.
Yet is also really good at blowing up people with a tank. Speaking of which, I also have to give some credit to the little love arc between Welkin and Alicia. I usually hate romance subplots, but this one was kinda nice. The cast of antagonists is also pretty good. There's some you love to hate like Maximilian, and others are sympathetic, like the titular Valkyria, Silvaria. All in all, Valkyria Chronicles is for better or worse, mega weebcore. Yet behind that, lies a great strategy RPG with a stunning presentation. It's good enough to land at 93 on my list. And that's it for today. 3 more down, 93 to go, including many, many more turn-based strategy games. If you enjoyed watching me ramble on, look for my next video where I continue my stroll down memory lane featuring a varied set of games in Mass Effect 3, Doki Doki Literature Club, and WarioWare Touched. Either way, thanks for sticking around and hope to see you next time.